Hey there, thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday. Great to see you today. I hope that you're making it through your work week okay. I'm Veronica Cruz. Here are the top stories that we're tracking for you right now.
A wildfire emergency taking place right now on the Hawaiian island of Maui. Multiple fires burning through neighborhoods.
Following hurricane, we're usually dealing with heavy rain, we're dealing with flooding. 911 is down, cell service is down, phone service is down, and that's been part of the problem.
Former President Trump hitting the campaign trail in New Hampshire last night with some colorful language and out aggressively against the indictments.
I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to talk about it. Somehow that's not good for votes. Do you agree?
Everyone that I've talked to and that I've been in contact with, they're saying the same thing, that prices are just outrageous.
More Americans are tapping their 401k accounts because of financial distress, according to Bank of America.
You're giving up future growth for having a benefit today.
Welcome to Scripps News Live. We begin this hour with two hearings scheduled for the end of the week, which could determine the direction and trial of former President Trump's alleged involvement in trying to overturn the 2020 presidential election. Now, these developments come as special counsel Jack Smith continues his investigation looking into the money behind Trump's Save America Political Action Committee. National political correspondent Kevin Strilli joins us now live from Washington. So, Kevin, what more can you tell us about Trump's Save America PAC and what special counsel Jack Smith is looking into right now?
Follow the money. That's the message from Jack Smith and the prosecutors on January 6th. And the rallies and the organization and the technology apparatus in terms of the data trove that was utilized ahead of the January 6th attack at the Capitol. Separately from that, two important court dates on the court calendar in the next 48 hours, Veronica. On Thursday, the judge could rule as to setting a trial date as well as the timetable for the January 6th trial. Now, former President Trump's legal team trying to slow down that process. And then on Friday, remember that protective order that the prosecution filed last week on Friday that prompted Trump's legal team to file a 29-page response asking for clarity and specifying what information and evidence exactly can be shared into the public domain. Regardless of what the judge rules on Friday, the former president hitting the campaign trail in New Hampshire last night and using some colorful language said he has no plans to keep quiet.
I won't be able to go to Iowa today. I won't be able to go to New Hampshire today because I'm sitting in a courtroom on. So now I have one of these lunatic reporters back there saying, "Sir, would like to talk to you about your case." Or, "I'm sorry, I'm not allowed to talk about it." Somehow that's not good for votes. Do you agree? When we say I can't talk, I'd love to. I will talk about it. I will. They're not taking away my First Amendment right.
And just a quick word on New Hampshire. Earlier this morning, I spoke with a source close to former New Jersey Governor Chris Christie's presidential campaign, and they feel that if they can get a second-place finish ahead of Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, whose campaign is getting a shakeup today, that they would be able to last longer, perhaps, than current polling has Christie leveled at. They also are hopeful that he will be able to confront Trump in just a few short weeks, Veronica, on stage at the first Republican presidential debate. Now, in those remarks that you heard, those fiery remarks that you heard from Trump just a moment ago last night, he goes on to predict that that fourth indictment in Georgia will happen next week. Veronica?
Yeah, just a few weeks away from that debate as well. Yes. Kevin's really live for us in Washington. Kevin, always appreciate it. Thank you so much. And a potential fourth indictment in Georgia for former President Trump could be coming next week. Our Jay Strieberg has new information that District Attorney Fani Willis is about to make her case to the grand jury.
6.5 months after declaring a decision is imminent, Fulton County District Attorney Fani Willis will finally make her case against former President Trump and his allies. There are new reports that Willis will present evidence from her more than 2-year investigation into 2020 election interference to a grand jury next week. The probe launched following the now infamous phone call from former President Trump to Georgia Secretary of State Brad Raffensperger.
So, look, all I want to do is this. I just want to find 11,780 votes, which is one more than we have, because we won the state.
This comes after a Fulton County judge rejected Trump's request to have Willis disqualified from the case and the special grand jury's report thrown out. Trump's team has signaled they plan to appeal the ruling. Willis has been eyeing mid-August for the possible indictment, previously asking judges not to schedule trials this month and advising most of her staff to work remotely. And this week, barriers are up around the Fulton County Courthouse. Streets are now closed to traffic, and police presence has ramped up in anticipation of what could be the fourth indictment of the former president. Willis last week praising her team to local media in Atlanta.
The work is accomplished. I mean, we've been working for 2.5 years. We're ready to go.
That was Jay Struberg reporting there for us. All right, other news at this hour. Strong winds are fueling wildfires on Maui and the Big Island of Hawaii. Downed trees and power lines limiting firefighter access to some areas. Hawaii's acting governor issuing an emergency proclamation as residents evacuate. A hurricane that passed south of the island brought some of the gusts that are feeding the flames right now. Meteorologist Scott Withers has the very latest for us.
There are several out-of-control fires burning across the island of Maui. Crews from multiple cities trying to battle them, but with very little luck. This is actually video came in from a drone overnight. You can see how widespread this fire is. It stretches for miles and is going to continue stretching and burning throughout the evening. I want to show you now some video that was shot last night in Hawaii during the daylight. You can see the video destroying houses and neighborhoods. These people driving here, they're driving down the road. Watch when they look out the window here. They are surrounded by a firestorm as they search for a way out. The entire neighborhood is on fire. There are cars abandoned along the sides of the streets. The smoke is so thick they can't see where they're going, just a few feet in front of their car. All right, the tourist area known as Front Street. This is fully engulfed. Look at that flames and smoke. People were jumping into the ocean to escape the fires. The U.S. Coast Guard landed a boat on the beach to help rescue people. They were able to rescue 12 people. Now, in some social media video, you can actually hear explosions in that tourist area. Across the island, several fires burning, the smoke billowing into the air. The Hawaiian National Guard has been activated to help with evacuations. Roads and highways across the island are closed as the flames are spreading. Emergency shelters have been opened. The Red Cross is sending volunteers from the mainland. And we've just also learned that the 911 phone service and cell phone towers are down. The cell phone towers are burning down. A guy named Sam Posuma, a Dutch tourist, shot this video right here. He actually told me this morning via text message he was near Front Street when all of these fires started. He escaped with just a few minutes left to get out of there. He fortunately made it to a hotel and he's A-OK. Right, strong winds from that hurricane right there. That is Dora. It's passed south of the islands, but what's happened is as that's spinning, throwing those strong winds up. At the same time, we've got a pressure front here, and they're kind of taking the winds that you see streaming in here and focus them. And that's what's going on. That's why those winds are whipping across the island. Now, the Lieutenant Governor, Sylvia Luke, issued an emergency proclamation over this situation. And she is now just saying the hospital system on Maui is overburdened with burn patients and people suffering from inhalation.
When we deal with hurricane and disasters following hurricane, we're usually dealing with heavy rain, we're dealing with flooding. The fact that we have wildfires in multiple areas as a result of indirectly from a hurricane is unprecedented.
All right, back here on the mainland, we've got another system we got to focus on. That right there over Kansas, Nebraska. That storm system is going to intensify today. It's going to move into the central Mississippi River Valley, really explode later today. Powerful winds, damaging hail, maybe a tornado or two in that area. It's where we see our severe weather alerts. Central Mississippi River Valley in the bullseye. You can see it there in the gold. The heat dome still baking the deep south from Florida through Texas. Feels like heat indices. Miami 114, Orlando 115, Dallas 112, Austin 113. Baton Rouge could feel like 120 today. They've been over 100 degrees since July 29th, breaking a record for most consecutive days, 11 days straight so far. And the forecast shows it's no relief in sight. And there's no relief in sight for anyone out there in Maui as well. The situation is getting worse and more dangerous by the hour.
And speaking of no relief, we're just in August, but 2023 has already seen more than $1 billion disasters than any other year on record so far. The National Centers for Environmental Information reports 15 disasters so far this year. Storms, flooding, tornado outbreaks, all resulting in a $39.7 billion price tag. Even more troubling, 113 deaths. You could take a deeper dive on all of these stories and a whole lot more online. You can check us out at scripsnews.com. Also on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and on Threads. Straight ahead on Scripps News Live, a new development in the fight to regulate guns in the United States. National correspondent Morris Sirianni has the details on the latest win for the Biden administration. Also, we're going to take you inside a gun lab working to reduce gun violence by studying the guns that are used in crimes. And a quick reminder, we would like to hear from you. You can give us a call on our Scripps News Viewer hotline. That number is toll-free. It's 1-833-4-SCRIPPS. Feel free to share your comments and your story ideas.
This is an important message for the millions of Medicare recipients covered under your state's Medicaid. Medicare and Medicaid give you some benefits, but there are Medicare Advantage plans available with even more benefits and savings. Call the number on your screen and get a free Medicare benefits review to see if you qualify. A licensed insurance agent is standing by to take your call. Just call 800-981-2945 now. Some Medicare Advantage plans may include dental, vision, and hearing coverage, $0 copays for prescription drugs, and an annual allowance to spend on groceries, rent, and utilities for those who qualify. Plus, some plans may include lots of doctors and hospitals, all in-network. You don't get these benefits automatically. Call now and get a free, no-obligation benefits review. Just call 800-981-2945 now. That's 800-981-2945. Plus, certain beneficiaries may qualify based on income verification to enroll in their state-based Medicare savings program. That can add up to $164 back to their Social Security check every month. Call the number on your screen to see if you qualify for this state-based program. A licensed insurance agent is standing by to take your call. Just call 800-981-2945 now. Medicare and Medicaid give you some benefits, but there are Medicare Advantage plans available with even more benefits and savings. Plus, some plans may include lots of doctors and hospitals, all in-network. Plans may include dental, vision, and hearing coverage, $0 copays for prescription drugs, and an annual allowance to spend on groceries, rent, and utilities for those who qualify. Plus, you may be eligible for a plan with free transportation. Remember, you don't get these benefits automatically. Call now and get a free, no-obligation benefits review. Just call 800-981-2945 now. That's 800-981-2945.
Hi, I'm Sophia, founder of Pair Eyewear. The only glasses you can change, like you change your clothes. Each pair starts with a base frame, then choose from over hundreds of designs, like a top frame from your favorite holiday. Or you can even turn your glasses into sunglasses. Every pair starts at just $60, including prescription lenses. Glasses are an extension of your personality, and we're here to celebrate each and every version of you. Discover your next pair at paireyewear.com.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
How can a photo become a vibrant part of your home? When you go to tryfracture.com and print your images directly on glass. Get beautiful depth and clarity on a sleek frameless print that's easy to hang and looks incredible in any space. Go to tryfracture.com now to save 20% on glass prints.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live. A mother finding herself at the center of a legal battle against Southwest Airlines. It all started when a Southwest employee accused her of trafficking her biracial daughter during a 2021 flight.
We just need to talk to you real quick up here, okay? What's going on? I'll explain to you just a minute.
That was redacted body camera footage of the incident from the Denver Police Department. Mary and her daughter flew to Denver after a loved one's death, and police and a Southwest staff member were waiting for them when they arrived. McCarthy alleges racial profiling and says the airline reported her based on a deeply biased, racist assumption. She says that her daughter is, quote, deeply traumatized from the incident. McCarthy and her lawyer spoke with Morning Rush earlier, and Alex Livingston asked her what her daughter said immediately after they got off the flight.
Yeah, you can see just how scared she is. You can hear her sobbing. It's devastating for me even today to go back and hear that. In terms of talking about what happened, very quickly after the incident, she just started to clam up. She didn't want to talk about it. To this day, that's her reaction. She does know that I'm speaking to the media, and she does support that. But I did what any responsible mom would do after a child experiences a trauma, which is I got her a therapist where she could, take this very difficult experience to a professional and work out, this own journey, this own trauma on her own, that ultimately I can't do that for her.
Now, she says she got a call 2 weeks after the incident from the Denver police, letting her know that they were still investigating the incident. That led her to hire a lawyer. Her advice to anyone in a biracial family is to travel with documentation that proves that you are related. Well, the U.S. Supreme Court issuing a major ruling on firearms without serial numbers known as ghost guns. Justices voted 5-4 to overturn a Texas federal judge's ruling that invalidated the Biden administration's regulation of ghost gun kits. National correspondent Maura Sirianni explains what comes next.
The Supreme Court Tuesday siding with the Biden administration and temporarily reinstating ghost gun regulations struck down by a lower court. These types of firearms are virtually untraceable. They can be built with kits available online, don't have serial numbers, and previously had no federal restrictions or limitations on purchases. In a 5-4 vote, the High Court overturned a ruling from a federal judge in Texas that blocked regulations issued last year by the Biden administration from taking effect. The new regulations include changing the current definition of a firearm under federal law so that unfinished parts of a gun must also be licensed and include serial numbers. Manufacturers must also run background checks before a sale. Earlier on Morning Rush, Rob Pincus, executive vice president of the Second Amendment organization, argued this creates confusion.
But the new rules and interpretations really try to redefine what a firearm is.
While gun violence prevention advocates applaud the move.
And this is a serious problem. In the year 2021 alone, law enforcement recovered 19,000 ghost guns.
It comes as a growing number of cities have filed lawsuits against ghost gun manufacturers, including Philadelphia and Los Angeles.
They are completely unregulated and unserialized.
Philadelphia's mayor said there has been a 300% increase in the number of ghost guns recovered from crime investigations over the past 4 years. A maker of ghost guns sued to block the regulations, but the Supreme Court says these rules will apply as the lawsuit makes its way through the lower courts. Maura Sirianni, Scripps News, Atlanta.
Identifying a weapon, its origin, is not easy. Employees in Hillsborough County, Florida's new firearms identification lab do it every day. Michael Paluska with Scripps News Tampa spoke with forensic investigators who work long hours in order to make the community safer.
I'm Michael Paluska. I'm standing in Hillsborough County's brand new gun library. They gave us exclusive access to this new lab. All of these weapons were used in some sort of crime, violent crime, even murders, and now they're being used to help solve future cases.
Brazen shooters in Hillsborough County.
Hillsborough County deputies releasing this surveillance video here of a deadly shooting.
Gun violence in Hillsborough County can feel like it's on repeat.
Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office is working to piece together what led up to a deadly shooting at a gas station in the East Lake Orion Park area. The Sheriff's Office described this as a brutal murder.
You guys work in a lot of cases every single day?
We do. We've been operational since January, and we've worked about 800 cases since we've been back here.
Firearms manager John Romeo says that is a lot and highlights why the Hillsborough County Sheriff's Office opened their own dedicated gun lab.
So now we have the ability to go from crime scene straight back to the firearms lab and examine things immediately. Everything is just streamlined. I like to say that we created an express lane on the highway for our own evidence.
Before the lab, everything was outsourced to FDLE. Turnaround time for FDLE could take weeks. Now it's a few hours or days.
It's, like I said, it's a game changer for this county. It's absolutely incredible.
No matter how many camera angles we had on Donna Wallace, the director of Forensic Services, we couldn't escape seeing all of the weapons surrounding her. When you look at these guns, you know that one of them was used potentially to kill someone.
Correct.
There's a lot of guns in here.
Correct. That's a lot of guns. And this is just a small example of what we've been able to take off the street. I'm glad they're in here and not on the street.
If a gun comes in that won't fire, forensics can use parts here to make it functional. Then they fire off a few rounds. This is only a demonstration for us, not part of an active case. It is incredible to see how just a few feet of water can stop a bullet in its tracks. The round from this gun, way too fast to capture with our slow-mo cameras. This bullet recovery tank is one of the biggest pieces of equipment they have here in the lab. Could be one of the most important because they're able to fire a weapon and then get the bullet out of the water whole so they can go back and identify it in the lab.
And this will be the individual characteristics that are unique to that firearm, and also are kind of like the signature or the fingerprint of that firearm.
Firearms analyst Shalyn Tork says the rifling left on a bullet as it exits the barrel is like a microscopic barcode.
And we do have to have some eye breaks. To do it for 8 hours straight is a little taxing. It's a big part of the job is to look in the microscope.
We start in North Tampa, where a shooting happened outside of an assisted living facility involving 2 employees.
When that next shooting happens, because we know it will, every second counts.
Well, as you can imagine, a lot of the shooters are repetitively committing crime. So a lot of the guns are used more than once. So to be able to break that cycle and prevent the next shooting, obviously the timeliness of examination forensically is important. You're trying to prevent that next shooting by examining your evidence as quickly as you can.
I'm Michael Paluska for Scripps News.
One of the so-called Tennessee Three is considering a Senate run. Democratic State Representative Gloria Johnson has launched an exploratory committee. She's thinking about running against Republican Marsha Blackburn, and it would be a tough task. 2006 was the last time a Democrat won statewide office in Tennessee. Johnson survived an effort to expel her in April after she took part in a pro-gun control protest that took place at the state capitol. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, doctors going above and beyond expectations.
It's easier to train a physician as a good technician to become a neurosurgeon. It's harder to train them to be a good person.
We're going to explain how this friendly game of pickleball is helping their patients overcome yet another challenge. We'll be right back.
Hey everyone, it's me, Sebastian, and it is a beautiful day today. We have so much to be grateful for, so just remember, if you see someone without a smile, give them one of yours. I just love inspiring people to be the best they can be, and the reason I'm able to inspire so many people is because people like you who inspire me with your support of Shriners Hospitals for Children. Since I was little, I've broken 100 bones, and I've had 19 surgeries. Shriners Hospitals for Children was with me every step of the way. But more than that, they've given me the confidence to know I can do whatever I set my mind to. Like right now, I've set my mind to sharing my smile with you. Did you get it?
Because of people like you, I can play the violin.
I can play piano.
I can understand.
The help I get is only possible because of caring people like you who pick up the phone and call the number on your screen to make your monthly gift.
And when you call or go online right now to donate $19 a month or more, we'll send you this adorable Love to the Rescue blanket as a thank you, and a reminder of all the smiles you're bringing to kids' faces every day.
Kids like me.
And me.
And me.
And me. So what are you waiting for? You can inspire kids like me by visiting loveshriners.org. After all, you can't help everyone, but you can help someone. So let's go!
Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for giving. Join me and bring a smile to the world with your monthly gift today.
Please call now. If operators are busy, please call again or go to loveshriners.org right away.
Join me and bring a smile to the world.
The Omaha Steaks Anniversary Sale is here. For over a century, we've guaranteed the highest quality in everything we offer. To celebrate, we're offering you 50% off site-wide. That means you'll save 50% and get our 100% guarantee that you'll love every bite. Never tried Omaha Steaks? Save an extra $30 with promo code FIRSTTIME. Visit omahasteaks.com/TV today.
There's a better way to begin your mornings.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Morning Rush. Thanks so much for being with us.
Context and conversation.
This next story, we were talking about this earlier today.
Get the stories that will shape each day.
Here with us now is meteorologist Scott Withers. We got just wait.
after wave after wave.
So you can get on with yours.
Make sure you stay with us as we monitor this developing story.
Morning Rush, weekday mornings starting at 7/6 Central, only on Scripps News.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Cruz. So getting surgery isn't always easy, and paying for it can sometimes be even harder. Tanya O'Rourke with Scripps News Cincinnati found a group of surgeons working to find a solution.
So before, when you walked, what was that like? Can you show me? You
My
were like
legs
this?
hurt. I was walking like
You walk, okay. So really hunched over.
66-year-old Vicki Humfleet has scoliosis. This was her 4 years ago, hunched over and using a wheelchair.
Oh my gosh, look at this.
But after a 9.5-hour surgery at UC Medical Center,
I sit up straight, I stand up straight, and I'm back to work.
that surgery and the care afterward are expensive. Vicki couldn't afford it. And then she learned her doctor, Ronnie Nasser, helped pay off her bills.
What did it mean to you to have some of that financial burden lifted off of you?
A lot. That man upstairs is the one that answered the prayers. And he's the one that sent that doctor to me. He's the one. If it wasn't for him, we'd probably have to sell everything we had.
Paying for patient care is why these folks are playing pickleball.
You didn't play the neuro ICU nurses.
The tournament, arranged by neurosurgery residents at UC Medical, raised money for a fund that helps patients who can't afford care.
Some of our patients, regrettably, deal with the worst news at the most unexpected times, and very few people save for this very instance, and this is intended to help bridge those lapses.
You might find it surprising that surgeons work to help patients' pocketbooks, but the chair of neurosurgery at UC says they specifically hire people with compassion.
It's easier to train a physician as a good technician to become a neurosurgeon. It's harder to train them to be a good person.
I cut this grass.
You cut this grass yourself?
Yeah,
Could you have done that before?
No.
Vicki Hump tells me she's forever grateful to her doctor and his staff, a crew of people she now considers her friends.
You know, you don't think that you would hear about a doctor or a set of doctors raising money for or paying off patients' bills.
They do. Their heart's bigger than what people think they are.
And that was Tanya O'Rourke reporting for us there in Cincinnati. I'm Veronica Cruz. Thank you so much for joining us. For the audience leaving us right now, your local programming is up next. Remember, you can always check us out on ScripsNews.com. Now, if you're staying with us, we have much more news headed your way right here on Scripps News Live, including inflation squeeze on our wallets and the avenues some Americans are taking to ease their financial burdens.
I'm John Matarese. Back to school clothing and accessories can really add up in price. So we're showing you how to go back to school in style without breaking the bank. That story coming up.
If you're living with diabetes, this is the sound that could change your life.
Great news for people living with diabetes. Now you can wear a continuous glucose monitor and eliminate routine finger sticks. The days of repeated, painful finger sticks are over.
Call 800-719-8907.
If you use insulin daily to manage your condition, a continuous glucose monitor could help you control your diabetes and reduce or eliminate those painful finger sticks. If you have Medicare or private insurance, US Med can deliver a CGM system right to your door. And if you qualify, there may be little or no cost to you. Shipping is free, and we'll even bill your insurer directly. Call now to get your continuous glucose monitoring system so you can take control of your diabetes and get back to enjoying life.
Call 800-719-8907. That's 800-719-8907.
Tens of thousands of customers wrote about Carvana being easy in their 5-star reviews, including Eric.
The whole process was really simple and easy. And this is my 3rd time selling to Carvana.
So I can practically do it from memory now. You just enter your license plate or your VIN, answer a few questions, boom, you get a real offer.
True story. It's still shocking how easy it was to sell my car to Carvana.
Sell your car to Carvana today.
Hey.
Hey, I'm inside the bank. Where's the $500?
What?
I don't have much time. Where's the $500?
I said drop your bank, not rob your bank.
What?
I said drop your bank and get Dave. The banking app.
Yeah, I thought this was a lot of work for
You think?
I mean, I would love it if you could come get me.
Oh, no. Oh, she going to jail.
Hello?
There's an easier way you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less when you download Dave.
Hey there, welcome to Scripps News Live. Great to see you on this Wednesday. I'm Veronica Cruz. Let's get you caught up on the day's top stories right now. Panic is spreading as wildfires continue to rage across Hawaii's Maui Island. Authorities are telling people to avoid the popular Lahaina area. All of the evacuees have created traffic jams. Some people even jumped into the ocean to escape the fires. Coast Guard rescued a dozen of them, and experts say a hurricane that passed 500 miles south of Hawaii was helping to fuel the blaze. Overseas now to Russia, who is blaming Ukraine for an explosion at a factory north of Moscow. It says that 6 people suffered severe injuries. 45 people were hurt. Authorities say the explosion occurred at a warehouse storing fireworks that was on the grounds of a plant that makes optical equipment for Russian security forces. New York-based workspace provider WeWork is saying its future is in jeopardy. Analysts say the company was no doubt hurt by the COVID pandemic when more people chose to work remotely. 3 board members quit last week, saying they disagreed with WeWork's direction. Growing financial distress is forcing many Americans to dip into their 401ks. Aaron Cantrell of Scripps News Nashville spoke with an expert who explains what's ahead if you decide to go down this path.
It's a sad feeling that they have to do that because of inflation's going up and no one is getting increases on their jobs.
Calvin Spence is like most Americans right now, trying to figure out how to keep up with growing costs.
Everyone that I've talked to and that I've been in contact with, they're saying the same thing, that prices are just outrageous, you know.
Since 2019, household debt balances have increased by nearly $3 trillion, according to New York Federal Reserve data through the first quarter of 2023.
A lot of people have been tapping into their 401k right now because, well, it's money that it's there, that it's available. And if you're going through hardship, there are some rules that make it easier for you to withdraw money.
Julio Rivas is right. More Americans are tapping their 401k accounts because of financial distress, according to Bank of America. Rivas, an associate professor of finance and economics at Lipscomb University, advises against it.
A lot of times you have to pay penalties, right? I mean, there's a 20% penalty. Now, if you're going through hardship and if you're able to show that you're going through hardship, there are some rules that might make it easier for you to take money. You're giving up future growth for having a benefit today.
He knows it's tough, but thinks picking up a part-time job is the better option. But if you're desperate, maybe taking from your 401k is your only option.
I probably think that penalties are probably less than whatever a payday loan might charge you. Yet you're giving up future growth, right?
Spence says his dad taught him a long time ago about savings. He suggests people set a little money aside every paycheck.
If you couldn't save nothing but $5 a week, try to put that in a savings and let it stay. And just think of how much money that can be in 10 years.
I'm Aaron Cantrell reporting.
U.S. credit card debt hit $1 trillion. It's the first time on record. The Federal Reserve Bank of New York says total balances on credit cards and other revolving accounts reached the $1 trillion mark at the end of July. It's nearly $200 billion more than at the beginning of the year. Credit card balances have risen for 5 consecutive quarters, increasing at some of the largest rates in 2 decades. Those most at risk of missing payments, young adults. But 1 in 20 credit card holders over the age of 40 are also falling behind on their payments. Back-to-school shoppers are keeping their eyes open for the best deals on clothes. And while some kids may prefer to pick their wardrobe out at the mall, consumer reporter John Matarese says that you can stretch those dollars elsewhere.
Back to school typically means new stuff, but face it, that back-to-school wardrobe can really add up. So we're finding out how to send your kids to class in style without breaking the bank.
You don't have to pay hundreds of dollars for back-to-school clothing.
$2.98 for a shirt.
Walmart's Matt Goen says big box stores may surprise you. With Walmart's
Justice brand. I've been with Walmart a couple years now. We have our shirts here for $15.
Unless your child wears a uniform, Vondi Wheeler says, back-to-school shopping isn't always that simple.
My youngest daughter was in normal, regular clothes, and it was a nightmare.
This year, the National Retail Federation expects families to spend $257 on clothing and accessories for back to school and another $167 for shoes. So we turn to Jamie Miles of PassionatePennyPincher.com for some easy ways to slash those numbers.
You don't have to drag all your kids to the mall and come home having spent $1,000. That is totally unnecessary. Resist the FOMO.
Instead, stick to your first day of school outfits. And before you go to the store, have a try-on day.
They have, a great supply of jeans, but they just need a few extra tops to mix and match.
Jamie also has a great backpack rule that all parents can try. It's simple. Wait until after school starts.
The one that's $40 now will be $7 in 3 weeks because they slash them on clearance.
To save on clothes, try shopping for gently used clothing at Goodwill or consignment stores like Once Upon a Child. For those 1 or 2 must-have items, Jamie says sign up for emails or texts on the retailer's website. Joanna Anderson is glad her 5-year-old daughter isn't asking for designer clothes just yet.
We'll get there eventually, I'm sure.
Till then, don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese.
And since back-to-school shopping can get expensive, not every family can even afford to bargain shop. So school districts have been stepping up to help. Jiyeon Kim with Scripps News Kansas City talked with parents about the impact that help has been having on their bottom line.
Back-to-school fairs like this one are every parent's dream.
It's very nice and convenient to have a one-stop shop.
One stop for backpacks, school supplies, haircuts, and physicals, including dental and vision.
The sports physicals are a huge thing for me.
And oh, by the way, everything's free.
Well, I've been struggling, so I really couldn't afford it this year, so a whole lot of money, actually.
I think there was just a small group of folks that knew that the need was there.
Crystal Watson with the KCK School Foundation for Excellence says the district serves a number of students from low-income households.
What do you guys think about your new swag? I love it.
In fact, 80% of their students are on free and reduced lunch. This event was started 24 years ago to give those families a head start for school.
We expect about 3,000 people to come through. We know it can be expensive, especially if you have more than 2 or 3 children, and so that's why we do it.
It took 20 community partnerships, 40 vendors, and nearly $30,000 to put it all together. Meanwhile, on the other side of state line, KCPS held its drive-through giveaway that will serve about 5,000 families today.
Going back to school in these times, because with the pandemic and all that other things and stuff like that, it would be a loss for a lot of the kids.
KCPS tells me between this event and other community outreach, 20,000 backpacks will be handed out ahead of this school year.
In Kansas City, Missouri, I'm Jiyeon Kim reporting.
In other news at this hour, Apple releasing more information about its new operating system. iPhone users who install iOS 17 will notice the end call button at the bottom right of the screen. Right now, it's the bottom in the middle of the screen. Other new features include a live voicemail feature, which transcribes a caller's message in real time. iOS 17 will also allow iPhone users to share contact information by placing their phones near each other. Apple will be rolling out its new updates next month. Straight ahead on Scripps News Live, a victory for abortion advocates in Ohio. How the results of a special August election help their fight on a November ballot vote. Also, the debate over abortion access front and center in the Arizona state capitol. Inside the effort to change the state's constitution in order to ensure access. That's next.
Hi, I'm Kirk Kaiser, and did you know the average funeral costs around $10,000? And if you don't have enough insurance to cover funeral costs, credit card debt, and other expenses, your family is going to get stuck with the bill. Don't let that happen. Call right now. And if you're over 50, you can get up to $30,000 in affordable life insurance, and your acceptance is guaranteed. That's right. If you're over 50, you can't be turned down for this insurance, regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam and no health questions. Your rate will never go up. Your coverage will never go down. And rates start as low as $5 a week. Your coverage begins as soon as your application is received. Don't wait until it's too late.
Just call 800-760-7793.
Coverage is guaranteed regardless of your health, and cannot be canceled without your approval. Don't leave your family with a huge bill for your funeral. With one fast and easy call, get up to $30,000 in affordable life insurance to help cover funeral expenses and credit card debt, and maybe even leave something for your kids and your grandkids. Remember, if you're over 50, you can't be turned down, regardless of your health. There's no medical exam and no health questions. Best of all, your rates start as low as $5 a week, and your rate will never increase. Nothing is more important than family. So don't leave them with a lot of bills to pay when you're gone. Don't leave your family with a lot of bills to pay for your funeral. Call right now. Acceptance is guaranteed. Call right now.
Call now. Call 800-760-7793. That's 800-760-7793.
If you're one of the many people struggling financially right now, Bridget's got your back. They'll send you $50 to $250 instantly with no credit check or interest.
Download the Bridget app today and get $50 to $250 instantly.
Digging deeper into the headlines.
We have some big stories to get to tonight.
Shedding light on groundbreaking investigations and ending your night with something new.
Thanks for joining us tonight. I'm Christian Bryant.
Scripps News Tonight, live tonight, starting at 8/7 Central.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live. Voters in Ohio rejecting a ballot measure that would have made it harder to change the state constitution. Now the decision is a big win for abortion advocates. In November, Ohio voters will decide whether to enshrine abortion rights into the Constitution. By voting down Issue 1, only a simple majority is needed to pass the November issue rather than 60%. This is also considered a win for voting rights. Opponents of Issue 1 say if it were passed, it would have taken power away from the voters.
Voters saw Issue 1 for what it was, a deceptive power grab designed to silence our voices and diminish our voting power. We defeated Issue 1 because an enormous coalition that spans ideological divides came together to defend democracy.
President Biden also weighed in on the decision, saying, quote, Ohioans spoke loud and clear, and tonight, democracy won. Abortion rights are also an issue in Arizona. A coalition of organizations wants to add the right to an abortion into the state constitution. Mark Phillips with Scripps News Phoenix says they are determined to ensure the procedure remains legal.
On Tuesday, the Political Action Committee Arizona for Abortion Access filed proposed language with the Arizona Secretary of State, the first step in what will be the challenging process to put abortion rights before voters in November 2024.
We wouldn't be engaging on a $40 or $50 million project if we weren't pretty darn sure that this had the support that it needs.
Later this year, the Arizona Supreme Court is expected to decide whether a 2022 state law, which allows abortions during the first 15 weeks of pregnancy, will take precedence over a territorial-era law banning all abortions, except to save the life of the mother.
Right now, we are one court decision away from putting doctors in prison. We're really, in an uncertain environment. And so we want to at least regain what has been lost through that Dobbs decision.
The proposed constitutional amendment will allow women to terminate a pregnancy until the point of viability of the fetus. That's generally considered between 22 and 24 weeks of pregnancy.
Mark, we won't be caught flat-footed.
But critics say the amendment as written is vague and will eliminate protections against late-term abortions when the fetus is viable.
Today's not a surprise. It's been known for months that the pro-abortion crowd, the abortion industry, would file a measure to try to secure so-called abortion rights in our state constitution.
Arizona for Abortion Access will have until July 3rd of 2024 to collect the nearly 500,000 signatures it needs to ensure the amendment gets on the ballot.
We're ready, but yeah, not naive about what a heavy lift this is.
I'm Mark Phillips for Scripps News.
Many Americans say abortion will be a key issue when voting next year. A recent CNN poll found 64% of U.S. adults say they disapprove of the Dobbs ruling, which overturned Roe v. Wade. Those numbers are similar to last year. 29% of voters say they will only vote for a candidate who shares their view on abortion, and that's up from 26% a year ago. Only 16% in this new poll said that they don't see abortion as a major issue. And there was a major hearing about the future of Utah's abortion trigger law. Ben Winslow with Scripps News Salt Lake City was in court. He spoke to people on both sides of the debate.
For more than 4 hours in a packed courtroom, the 5 justices of the Utah Supreme Court heard a challenge to Utah's abortion trigger law.
The people of Utah, through their elected representatives, have prohibited abortion except in limited circumstances since before the state's founding. Hands off our bodies!
When the U.S. Supreme Court overturned Roe v. Wade, Utah's abortion trigger law went into effect. It bans abortion in nearly all circumstances, with exceptions for rape, incest, and health of the mother. Planned Parenthood of Utah sued, and a lower court judge blocked the law, allowing abortions to continue.
Is there a right to bodily autonomy or bodily integrity?
The Utah Supreme Court is now considering whether the lower court judge made a mistake in issuing the injunction. The state of Utah wants it overturned. The justices asked questions ranging from if Planned Parenthood has standing to even bring a lawsuit, a recent court change on what can get an injunction, to Utah's constitutional clause that guarantees equality and whether that applies to abortion.
Could the state outlaw vasectomies and not implicate any constitutional right?
At the time of the vasectomy, it is one person. Whereas at the time of the abortion, it is two people. Again, Utah code recognizes the unborn child as a person.
Your argument is that an abortion may be necessary to the exercise of other rights that are explicitly enumerated in the Utah Constitution, correct?
That's correct, Your Honor, yes. Regardless of what people thought about abortion in 1895, equality today for the women of Utah requires access to abortion.
This doesn't decide the constitutionality of Utah's abortion trigger law, but whether the lawsuit can actually proceed. The abortion trigger ban remains on hold pending the lawsuit. The justices took the case under advisement. No timeline when they'll issue a ruling.
We care about the unborn. We want to protect life, and we've tried to, build a law that, does prohibit elective abortions and does everything we can to protect women.
The bill's sponsor says he's tried to strike a balance.
Every Utahn deserves the right to make their own medical decisions, to be in charge of that decision making, and to get the care they want or need free from political interference.
Both sides left hopeful the court will see things their way.
Litigation will continue regardless, and we feel very good about the final outcome.
Yeah, same here. I mean, of course there's going to be continued litigation. They're not going to stop. It'll go on for quite some time. But we'll win. Babies will win.
I'm Ben Winslow, Scripps News.
Congressional Democrats went to the southern border of Texas Tuesday to see the immigration crisis firsthand. Members of the Congressional Hispanic Caucus and Texas Democrats toured sections of the Rio Grande where a floating barrier and razor wire were installed by Texas Governor Greg Abbott.
It's barbaric. You see, they're basically treating these asylum seekers, these human beings, like animals. You see the razor wire here, you see right over there those barrel traps that have concertina wire on them. You see clothing of people, including kids, that's stuck to the wire, literally stuck to the razor wire. They're forcing Border Patrol to stay away from some of these areas when it's the Border Patrol that actually has responsibility for all of this process.
The Justice Department is suing Texas, trying to force the state to remove the barriers. Straight ahead on Scripps News Live, South Florida police making a strange discovery when they search a lake in a missing persons case. Also, the four-legged detective in Nashville, how his unique skills are helping the police department reunite families with their loved ones.
If you have this, and you get this, you could end up with this. Unexpected out-of-pocket costs, which for those on Medicare or soon to be, is a good reason to take charge of your health care. So consider this, an AARP Medicare Supplement Insurance Plan from United Healthcare. Why? Because Medicare alone doesn't pay for everything. And what it doesn't pay for, like deductibles and copays, could really add up, even thousands of dollars a year. Medicare supplement plans help by paying some of what Medicare doesn't and making your out-of-pocket costs a lot more predictable. Call United Healthcare today and ask for your free decision guide. Learn more about plan options and rates to fit your needs. Now, if you like this, greater freedom, you'll love that Medicare supplement plans have no networks and no referrals needed. See any doctor, any specialist, anywhere in the U.S., as long as they accept Medicare patients. These types of plans also give you more flexibility when traveling in the U.S. Your plan goes with you, anywhere you go in the country. Even better, these are the only plans of their kind, endorsed by AARP. Call United Healthcare today for your free decision guide. So if you have this and want less out-of-pocket costs and more peace of mind, consider adding this, an AARP Medicare Supplement Plan. Take charge of your healthcare today. Just use this or this to call United Healthcare about an AARP Medicare Supplement Plan.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
How does Klein & Spector get among the most big verdicts and settlements of any law firm in the country? Because Klein & Spector is an award-winning team with 5 doctor lawyers, the most of any firm in the United States. And that's why the New York Times calls Klein & Spector a powerhouse law firm. So if a defective product, motor vehicle accident, or medical malpractice caused a catastrophic injury, call Klein & Spector.
Together.
Juntos.
Together.
We stand up to cancer.
On Saturday, August 19th, join Stand Up to Cancer.
So just stand up with us.
Stand Up to Cancer, Saturday, August 19th at 8, 7 Central on Scripps News.
Welcome back to Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Cruz. Divers working a missing persons cold case in South Florida made a bizarre discovery. Roughly 30 submerged cars at the bottom of a lake. Police got a tip there may be vehicles connected to that cold case in the lake, so volunteer divers went down to take a look around. Police believe the cars have been there for decades, likely dumped because of their connection to crimes.
We just pulled out one vehicle that the Doral Police Department has confirmed that it's a 2002 vehicle that was reported stolen. That's most likely what we feel is we're going to find here. It's going to be abandoned vehicles that are associated with some type of a vehicle theft, perhaps some type of a possibly fraud.
Dive teams estimate it could take several weeks to retrieve all of those vehicles. Finding someone who is lost can be a challenging task, especially in a city that's more rural. But that is where Haas comes in. Forrest Sanders of Scripps News Nashville has his story.
There's a very real concern in a place like Moore County. It could be hard out here to find a loved one who's become lost, whether it's someone living with Alzheimer's or dementia or an autistic child.
If you don't have a direction, it's hard to know even where to start sometimes.
Hunter Case and Zach Means
we have a lot of open spaces.
Have both faced this as part of Metro Moore County EMS, but someone is changing everything. Meet Haas. Being a bloodhound means, the occasional towel for slobber. But this guy is an invaluable member of the team.
He is here for our community to be able to search for missing persons.
He's also helping in a statewide effort. In 2021, the TBI, the Tennessee Alzheimer's Association, and Alzheimer's Tennessee collaborated to make the Silver Alert system happen. It alerts the public of a missing person 65 or older who's developmentally disabled or cognitively impaired. Hey, Hoss, you'll notice how gentle he is. That's key, considering the people Hoss is trained to find. Moore County farmer Robert Darden had the idea and made the first donation to bring a scent dog here, while Jack Daniel's Distillery donated the remaining money to get and train Hoss at Scent Evidence Canine in Florida. We're seeing a bit of training. Zach goes out in the distance, while Hoss waits at the station.
This is our scent evidence collection cup.
And that's what they're trained to go off of.
Once it's collected, you store it in this jar, whiffed around his nose, and that's where he collects his scent.
Hoss is off. Hoss runs through high grass, still wet from the rain.
Oh boy. Oh boy.
In only a matter of seconds, Hoss has found Zach. These trainings happen every week, keeping Hoss's skills prepared for any situation Hunter and Zach may find in these wide, open spaces. Good boy, Hoss. I'm Forrest Sanders for Scripps News.
NASA revealing new details about its mission to the moon. The crew of 3 Americans and 1 Canadian plan to travel around the moon and then back to Earth in November of 2024. This mission hopes to pave the way for future astronauts to land on the moon once again and hopefully Mars after that. The astronauts just got a peek inside their spacecraft. Space Commander Reed Wiseman shared how the team is feeling right now.
We're fired up. It's a great day yesterday when you walk around the corner at the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout Facility, and there's your spacecraft that you're going to ride in, the ship, as they call it, over there. And we got to look inside and hang out, and it was really quite fascinating.
This NASA mission is the first to send astronauts near the moon since the Apollo in 1972. And the flight, it's expected to last about 10 days. So nobody likes jam-packed airports or going through those long security lines, but now there is another way to fly, but it's not cheap. A company called SetJet is bringing luxury jet travel to ordinary folks. Customers in Utah can book individual seats on one of 5 private jets. It is a $99 a month membership, and it happens monthly. Plus, it's the cost of the ticket. But it is comparable to a first-class commercial ticket, and it takes travelers to 10 different locations across the West, including San Diego, Las Vegas, and Cabo, Mexico.
You can buy an hour before the flight. You show up 20 minutes before. There's no dynamic pricing, so whether you're a planner for months out or an hour before, everybody pays the same.
Domestic flights begin at $750, while international ones are about $1,500. Pretty fancy. Thank you so much for watching Scripps News Live. I'm Veronica Cruz. For the audience leaving us right now, your local programming is up next. And don't forget, you can always check us out on scripsnews.com. Now, if you're staying with us, we have much more news headed your way. We'll be right back.
Hey. Hey, I'm inside the bank. Where's the $500? What? I don't have much time. Where's the $500?
I said drop your bank, not rob your bank.
What?
I said drop your bank and get Dave, the banking app.
Yeah, I thought this was a lot of work for $500.
You think?
I mean, I would love it if you could come get me.
Oh, no. Oh, she going to jail.
Hello?
There's an easier way you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less when you download Dave.
CVS is quiet about this program, giving away generic Viagra for just 87 cents. This is from CVS. Look, 9 tablets, 100 milligrams sildenafil, aka generic Viagra, for $406. That's $45 a tablet. This is from Walgreens, $417 for 9 tablets of 100 milligrams sildenafil, or $46 per tablet. You can get the exact same tablets from Friday plans for just 87 cents. Text LID LID to 69069 to get generic Viagra for just 87 cents. All you got to do is answer a few medical questions on their website. One of their doctors will prescribe you online if appropriate. Right now, Friday Plans is offering $10 off your first package, so you can get 9 tablets for just $15, including taxes and fees. The prescription is free, and the shipping is free as well. Text LID LID to 69069 today.
We're Carvana, the company who invented car vending machines and buying a car 100% online. Now we've created a brand new way for you to sell your car. Whether it's a year old or a few years old, we want to buy your car. So go to Carvana, enter your license plate, answer a few questions, and our techno wizardry calculates your car's value and gives you a real offer in seconds. When you're ready, we'll come to you, pay you on the spot, and pick up your car. That's it. So ditch the old way of selling your car and say hello to the new way at Carvana.
911 is down, cell service is down, phone service is down, and that's been part of the problem.
Developing now, a dire situation in Hawaii. Wildfires burning across parts of the state, destroying homes and businesses. More than 15,000 without power. Evacuation orders are in place, and thousands are stranded at Maui's airport right now. Thank you so much for joining us on this Wednesday afternoon. I'm Veronica Cruz. Welcome to Scripps News Live. Hawaii's acting governor issuing an emergency proclamation, and the state's National Guard supporting first responders in some of the hardest hit areas. Meteorologist Scott Withers shares some shocking images and the details on those strong winds that are fueling the flames.
There are several out-of-control fires burning across the island of Maui. Crews from multiple cities trying to battle them, but with very little luck. This is actually video came in from a drone overnight. You can see how widespread this fire is. It stretches for miles and is going to continue stretching and burning throughout the evening. I want to show you now some video that was shot last night in Hawaii during the daylight. You can see the video destroying houses and neighborhoods. These people driving here, they're driving down the road. Watch when they look out the window here. They are surrounded by a firestorm as they search for a way out. The entire neighborhood is on fire. There are cars abandoned along the sides of the streets. The smoke is so thick they can't see where they're going, just a few feet in front of their car. All right, the tourist area known as Front Street. This is fully engulfed. Look at that flames and smoke. People were jumping into the ocean to escape the fires. The U.S. Coast Guard landed a boat on the beach to help rescue people. They were able to rescue 12 people. Now, in some social media video, you can actually hear explosions in that tourist area. Across the island, several fires burning, the smoke billowing into the air. The Hawaiian National Guard has been activated to help with evacuations. Roads and highways across the island are closed as the flames are spreading. Emergency shelters have been opened. The Red Cross is sending volunteers from the mainland. And we've just also learned that the 911 phone service and cell phone towers are down. The cell phone towers are burning down. A guy named Sam Posuma, a Dutch tourist, shot this video right here. He actually told me this morning via text message he was near Front Street when all of these fires started. He escaped with just a few minutes left to get out of there. He fortunately made it to a hotel and he's A-OK. Right, strong winds from that hurricane right there. That is Dora. It's passed south of the islands, but what's happened is as that's spinning, throwing those strong winds up. At the same time, we've got a pressure front here, and they're kind of taking the winds that you see streaming in here and focus them. And that's what's going on. That's why those winds are whipping across the island. Now, the Lieutenant Governor, Sylvia Luke, issued an emergency proclamation over this situation. And she is now just saying the hospital system on Maui is overburdened with burn patients and people suffering from inhalation.
When we deal with hurricane and disasters following hurricane, we're usually dealing with heavy rain, we're dealing with flooding. The fact that we have wildfires in multiple areas as a result of indirectly from a hurricane is unprecedented.
And there's no relief in sight for anyone out there in Maui as well. The situation is getting worse and more dangerous by the hour.
There are new developments in the many legal issues facing former President Trump right now. When it comes to the allegations surrounding efforts to overturn the 2020 presidential election, his attorneys have a hearing in Washington Friday. Special counsel Jack Smith is seeking a protective order. He's also looking into the money behind Trump's Save America Political Action Committee. National political correspondent Avajoy Burnett is live for us right now in Washington. So Avajoy, there's new reporting out there about a secret memo to allegedly help Trump win the 2020 election. What exactly is going on here? What more can you tell us about this?
Hi, Veronica. Well, this new reporting is coming from the New York Times, and they're alleging that there was a Trump attorney back in 2020 who allegedly wanted to use fake electors to benefit then President Donald Trump while subverting the rightful win of President-elect Joe Biden. Now, they wanted to allegedly use fake electors to help with this plot that prosecutors are calling a criminal plot. And apparently, this attorney admitted that this plan would not even hold up in the U.S. Supreme Court, but they wanted to take those steps anyways to, number one, stir up doubt about the election process, and then number two, possibly slow things down to benefit the former president, Donald Trump. This all has to do with a January 6th election case where the former president was indicted and then arraigned last week. He pleaded not guilty in that case, and he faces 4 charges there, including conspiracy to defraud the United States and also conspiracy to obstruct an official proceeding. But this is something that the former president is talking about on social media. He's also talking about this on the campaign trail when it comes to all of his legal battles. And take a listen to something that he said last night.
I'm sorry, I won't be able to go to Iowa today. I won't be able to go to New Hampshire today because I'm sitting in a courtroom on because his attorney general charged me with something.
So that is a former president talking about how all of these legal cases could disrupt his opportunity and him being out there in the campaign trail as he traverses the United States. So we just talked about the January 6th case. Let's talk about the classified documents case down in Florida. Tomorrow, there's supposed to be a court appearance because, remember, there was a superseding indictment a few weeks ago. And once you have a superseding indictment, there has to be a new arraignment. A new arraignment is where someone goes to court and enter another plea of guilty or not guilty. Because there are new charges in this case against the former president, he should show up. He usually would have to show up for an arraignment, but he's been granted the ability to not show up. He's already entered a plea of not guilty once again. That's what he entered back in June. But the new co-defendant in this case, his name is Carlos de Oliveira. He will have to show up in this Fort Pierce courtroom tomorrow for his arraignment, where he's expected to enter a plea of guilty or not guilty. So that is a classified documents case. Let's talk about something else. This time around in Georgia, there's a possibility that we could be seeing an indictment in the coming days in allegations that he allegedly tried to disrupt the electoral process there in Georgia after the 2020 election as well. So we're tracking all of those cases. And then just this afternoon, we're learning that the special counsel, Jack Smith, has gotten approval for a search warrant so that he could get apparently the Twitter account of the former president, Donald Trump. This is something that is just coming in from a new court filing that came in just the last few minutes, Veronica. So many cases that we continue to watch here revolving around the former president, Donald Trump.
Absolutely. Avjoy Burnett live in Washington. Avjoy, thank you so much for keeping track of all of it for us. Now to Ohio, voters there rejecting a ballot measure that would have made it harder to change the state constitution. The decision is considered a big win for abortion rights advocates because Ohio voters will decide whether to enshrine abortion rights into the Constitution in November. By voting down issue 1, only a simple majority will be needed to pass the November issue rather than the proposed 60%. This is also considered a win for voting rights. Congressional correspondent Nathaniel Reed is live for us right now in Washington. So, Nate, what does this mean exactly for abortion access in Ohio and the upcoming reproductive rights amendment in November?
Well, Veronica, I talk a lot about the filibuster. This amendment would have effectively been like a filibuster for the state of Ohio. This would have changed the threshold for constitutional amendments up from the current threshold, just, 50% plus one, vote, basically like a simple majority, up to a 60% threshold to enact certain constitutional amendments. Ultimately, that failed by a resounding margin. 57% of Ohio voters who turned out, over 1.7 million, decided to vote against that. Just 42.99% voted in favor of that. I want to talk a little bit about turnout here. Over 3 million, that's just 1 million less than the number who showed up for the midterm general election in November of last year. So really high turnout here. That almost doubled what we saw for turnout in primary elections. extremely rare, not only for a election which isn't a general election, but also one that was being held in August, something that Senator Sherrod Brown, the Democrat from Ohio, says was deliberate on the part of Republicans. Take a listen.
They wanted this to be a low turnout election. They scheduled it, even though they eliminated August elections by law. They decided to change the law again in their arrogance. Look at Kansas, way more conservative than Ohio. Look at other states that have either tried to limit abortion or restrict or stop abortion, or those states that have tried to restrict ballot access and the voters said no. And the two are pretty inextricably linked. So I think that was a resounding rejection of that extremism about women's rights.
And again, Veronica, this wasn't simply a vote on abortion rights and abortion access. This was a vote on effectively what we call a procedural measure. This was a measure that would precede any amendment vote to change the state's constitution about abortion access and abortion rights. Instead, voters resoundingly turned out to the polls yesterday, rejecting this change, which would have raised that threshold from the simple majority 50% all the way up to 60%. The resounding failure certainly sending shockwaves across the Ohio Republican Party.
All right, Nathaniel Reed live for us there in Washington. Nate, thank you so much. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, inflation now forcing Americans to pull money from their retirement funds, the trend of 401k withdrawals, and the penalties that you could face if you do the same. Also, higher temperatures causing gas prices to tick up again.
We've seen refineries shut down for safety issues, some of them voluntarily, some of them involuntarily. The heat can create power issues.
How refinery shutdowns are trickling down to what you are paying at the pump. And don't forget, you can count on Scripps News for all of your news throughout the primetime hours as well, beginning at 6 p.m. Eastern.
Attention all seniors. You can now get up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, including your credit card debt, with no medical exam, starting at less than $1 a day.
Oh, honey, your dad and I can't stop talking about this baby that's coming.
We've also been thinking a lot about our future, and no matter what, we want to make sure we aren't leaving you and your family with any of our debts.
Just last week, we read that the price of a funeral can be $8,000 or more.
Wow, Jeff and I definitely would not have the money to pay for that.
And that's just a funeral. But you don't have to worry. We called, and with one phone call, we were eligible for $50,000 for our funeral and final expenses.
Well, that's great, but don't you need to take a medical exam to qualify? You and Mom have some health issues.
No. There's no medical exam, and we were able to get coverage right over the phone.
And our rates can never be increased, our benefits can never be decreased, and our coverage can never be canceled.
I'm so glad you made that call.
Don't leave loved ones with your debt. Call 800-293-5789 now and see if you qualify for up to $50,000 for your funeral and other final expenses, starting at less than $1 a day. There's no medical exam, and you can be approved even if you have pre-existing health conditions. Your rates can never be increased, your benefits can never be decreased, and your coverage can never be canceled. There's no obligation. Call 800-293-5789 now. There's no paperwork, no hidden fees, and no waiting periods. And you can start coverage right over the phone, starting at less than $1 a day. Call 800-293-5789. That's 800-293-5789. 800-293-5789.
What should we do?
I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, and if approved, we can have the money as soon as the same business day.
Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need.
Wounded Warrior Project has been with me every step of my journey.
They've helped me realize it's possible to rise to the top again.
It's possible to get the help I need for me and my family.
It's possible to hang push-ups again.
To feel understood.
To begin healing both inside and out.
To feel like myself again.
And now I know anything is possible.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy.
where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
14 minutes after the hour now, let's get a check of Wall Street. Anxiety about inflation data later this week, sending Wall Street into a midweek spiral. Let's take a look at those numbers right now. The Dow Jones is down about 78 points. The S&P and the NASDAQ both in the red as well. The S&P shedding about 15 points, and the NASDAQ is down more than 100 points at 105. This is all happening halfway through the trading day. We're going to keep an eye on it for you. Now, there's a disturbing trend developing across the nation right now. More Americans have been dipping into their 401ks. Data from Bank of America shows about 16,000 workers took funds out of their retirement accounts in the first 3 months of the year, and that is a 36% increase from a year ago. People who make the hardship withdrawals have to pay income tax on it and are subject to a 10% fee. Travelers looking to drive to their final summer getaway are in for another headache. According to AAA, gas prices are about 25 cents higher than this time last month. Scripps News national correspondent Thomas Hoppe spoke with experts to find out why this is happening and how long it's going to last.
I'm here in Tyler, Texas. That's about 2 hours outside of Dallas. And right behind me is the Delek refinery, where they produce about 75,000 barrels a day. Now, some of the reasons why prices are so high when it comes to gas and oil has to do with the heat.
What's going on with gas and oil right now?
So we've seen gas prices increase over the summer. We saw in June crude oil prices started increasing in late June, early July.
Gasoline prices are rising across the country heading into peak summer driving season. AAA says the average price for a gallon of regular gas is around $3.82. That's lower than last year's average at this time, around $4, when energy costs soared worldwide last year in the months following Russia's invasion of Ukraine. But experts say this year's jump is unusual.
But when you look at gas prices, crude oil is the most important factor to look at. And when you break down a gallon of gas, crude is about 50% of the cost of that gallon of gas. And so that's why we're seeing gas prices continue to go up across the country, and there's several reasons for that.
Typically, we see the impact with the heat raising the amount of moisture the atmosphere can hold, causing extended problems with hurricanes and tropical weather. We haven't seen that this year, but what we have seen is the heat having an impact on field workers, on infrastructure.
In the U.S., prices are highly dependent on crude oil. West Texas Intermediate crude oil prices have stayed above $80 per barrel since August 3rd, marking a $12 jump since July. One of the reasons to blame is this summer's record temperatures. Of the 129 refineries in the U.S., 29 of them operate in Texas, where extreme heat has been a major factor in production, resulting in a loss of hundreds of barrels each day.
We've seen refineries shut down for safety issues, some of them voluntarily, some of them involuntarily. The heat can create power issues, which also causes refineries to have to shut down. The good news, it seems that most of those issues have been resolved. Most refineries are coming back online, but it still has an impact, and it could for at least a few more weeks.
And so if it's 105 ambient, as they would say in a football game, on the field, it's got to be about 150. And that can put some of these refinery operations a little bit outside the normal operating parameters.
Beyond the heat, crude supply cuts from major producing countries in the OPEC Plus alliance are a huge factor to price increases. In July, Saudi Arabia started reducing how much oil it sends to the global economy by 1 million barrels each day.
The Saudis and OPEC Plus have been trying to restrict production for the last 10 months. It finally looks like they actually got to a point where they are dialing back production a little bit, and that's having a significant impact in price. The Saudis are very interested in maintaining high oil prices, as are the other members of OPEC. Everybody across this global economy suffered through the pandemic, and the OPEC nations perhaps suffered more than others.
While it's hard to know what gas prices will look like in the coming weeks, experts say the good news is fall should bring relief from the heat. There's also the risk of refineries powering down because of hurricanes bringing higher prices.
So three of the major factors that's affecting prices and production is some of the production cuts globally, the heat that's affecting production and shutting down some refineries, and soon to be hurricane season over in the Gulf Coast in Houston, where they are producing oil. Now, those things are out of our hands when it comes to control, but some things that we do have control over are looking up gas prices through apps, which one is the nearest to you, and making sure that your tire pressure stays high enough to work efficiently on the road. Thomas Hoppo, Scripps News.
Straight ahead on Scripps News Live, some empty office buildings are finding innovative ways to fill the space. We're going to show you how after a quick break.
I've been putting off getting life insurance, and I'm not getting any younger.
Have you been thinking about getting a life insurance plan but just keep putting it off?
Was that a yes?
Then this message is for you. I'm David Denowitz, and I know the importance of life insurance. And that's why I'm here to tell you it's not too late to get the coverage you need.
If you're between the ages of 45 and 85, you can get a policy with a benefit of up to $25,000 and rates available at $5 a week. The phone lines are now open. Just call 800-354-6059.
And your acceptance is guaranteed.
I have a pre-existing medical condition. Is my acceptance guaranteed?
Yes.
Can I get accepted without a medical exam?
Yes. If you're between 45 and 85, you can't be turned down for this guaranteed acceptance life insurance regardless of your health. Plus, there's no medical exam and no health questions. And rates start at just $5 a week. Remember, if you're between 45 and 85, you can't be turned down regardless of your health. Nothing's more important than family. So call now, pick up the phone, and get guaranteed acceptance life insurance today.
Just call 800-354-6059.
I'm 72 and on a fixed income. Is my acceptance guaranteed?
Yes. Your acceptance is guaranteed, and your rate can never go up for any reason. You can't be turned down regardless of your health. There's just one simple question. Are you between 45 and 85? If you answered yes, don't wait another minute. Call now.
The call is absolutely free, and there is no obligation to enroll. Just call 800-354-6059. That's 800-354-6059.
Welcome to this year's cheese rolling competition.
Who will catch the cheese and win the $500 prize? They are lined up, and let's roll it!
Ooh, looks like we got a first-timer coming down the hill now.
Is a leg supposed to bend that way?
Not naturally. Yeah, look at them go.
Barrel rolling down the hill.
That's gonna leave a mark.
Yeah, it is.
Yeah.
Ooh, it's not so easy to get a quick $500, is it?
No, it's not, Dan.
There's an easier way you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less when you download Dave.
South Braddock Avenue and Forbes Avenue. A lot of screaming and static on the phone. This whole bridge collapsed.
We've been neglecting our infrastructure since we built it.
When you just sort of touch the bottom of this bridge, it just comes apart.
Funding is a major issue. Infrastructure throughout America needs to be improved.
How did we get to a point as a country where so many bridges are in so much need?
Scripps News investigates decaying bridges in America. Thursday night at 8/7 Central, only on Scripps News Tonight.
We would like to hear from you. Give us a call on our Scripps News viewer hotline toll free. That number is 1-833-4-SCRIPPS. Feel free to share your comments and your story ideas. Okay, so in an ironic twist, Zoom, which helps so many Americans work remotely during the pandemic, wants its workers back in the office. Specifically, it's been asking employees who live within 50 miles from the office to work on site at least 2 days a week. Zoom's value has plunged since the hike of the coronavirus pandemic, and a share that was once worth $559 in October of 2020 is now worth only $70. And the work from home trend left many office and commercial spaces empty. According to research firm JLL, more than 20% of office space in the U.S. is now vacant. National correspondent Maya Rodriguez shows us one creative idea to utilize all of that empty space.
Urban or rural, big cities or small towns. No matter where you are in America, there's likely some empty commercial space somewhere nearby. There's all kinds of ideas on how to best utilize it, But one idea is gaining traction: indoor vertical farming. Just outside the nation's capital, in the urban enclave of Arlington, Virginia,
it's an inspiring mission.
A new purpose is in bloom.
Above me, we have leeks and carrots, and we actually have some basil and radishes and turnips and other things.
This is Area 2 Farms, a Virginia-based vertical farming operation growing more than 180 different varieties of herbs and produce.
Baby kale, we have sprig mix, we have rosemary, thyme, oregano, growing potatoes, tomatoes, leeks, onions, radishes, and turnips indoors is really, really incredible.
But it's where all of this is happening that makes it unusual.
The building that we're in today was a paper storage company, and the landlord was like, come on in, and invited a farm, which was really incredible.
Once empty spaces like this one are in need of a new purpose as the pandemic and work-from-home policies upended commercial real estate. Across the country, that translates into an average 20% vacancy rate for office space. Cities with higher rates include Phoenix and Milwaukee at 24%, Indianapolis at more than 22%, and Denver, Cincinnati, and Kansas City at 21%.
Office buildings are becoming emptier, and therefore it makes sense to do some conversion to make it more useful.
Some cities are tackling the issue by turning former office spaces into housing. But as the National Association of Realtors recently told us, that comes with complications.
Because of the dollar cost involved in doing the conversion, sometimes it is really hard to make the numbers work.
Which is where vertical farms come in, often requiring less infrastructure changes, and now popping up in places like New York, Chicago, and San Francisco. Back in Arlington, Virginia, county officials made zoning changes this year to encourage urban farms similar to this one to be able to move into empty office spaces.
Our growing apparatus, called Silo, it is a modular system, so it actually can be put anywhere. This apparatus doesn't require large HVAC systems, a lot of lighting. We are able to plug it into wherever we see fit.
For Area 2 Farms, that's translating into a lot of interest.
We actually have hundreds and hundreds of calls a week asking us, we have this vacant space. Do you want to come and put your farm here? Or people are even offering free space for us to put our farm.
But it's their nearby customers buying what they grow that remains the main focus here.
When was the last time you went to the grocery store and knew who grew your broccoli or your carrots or your staple items that you get every single week? People come in and they see their farmer and they get so excited about it. And that's something that's really special.
All while giving old space new life. Maya Rodriguez, Scripps News, Arlington, Virginia.
New York-based workspace provider WeWork says its future is in jeopardy. Analysts say the pandemic, when more people chose to work remotely, no doubt hurt the company. 3 board members quit last week saying that they disagreed with WeWork's direction. I'm Veronica Cruz. Thank you so much for being with us. For the audience leaving us right now, your local programming is up next. And don't forget, you can always check us out on scripsnews.com. Now, if you're staying with us, we have much more news headed your way right here on Scripps News Live. Still ahead, New York City creating a housing crisis for incoming migrants. What the city is doing about it now. And an Alabama riverfront brawl goes viral. But some say the reason why goes beyond the violence. We're going to hear their opinions when we come back.
We need some help.
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. And if approved, we can have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at Worthy.com.
If you're one of the many people struggling financially right now, Bridget's got your back. They'll send you $50 to $250 instantly, with no credit check or interest.
Download the Bridget app today and get $50 to $250 instantly.
How does Klein Inspector get among the most big verdicts and settlements of any law firm in the country? Because Klein Inspector is an award-winning team with 5 doctor lawyers, the most of any firm in the United States. And that's why the New York Times calls Klein Inspector a powerhouse law firm. So if a defective product, motor vehicle accident, or medical malpractice caused a catastrophic injury, call Klein Inspector.
Why is Aaron happy? Well, just days ago, his old wheels gave out. But he knew Carvana had his back. That's because Carvana had thousands of cars under $20,000. And with the new co-signer option, Aaron's folks were able to help him out with a new ride.
No way.
Yes way. With thousands of cars under $20,000 and our co-signer option, we'll drive you happy at Carvana.
I created the Always Pan to make home cooking more joyful and simpler. The 8-in-1 Always Pan steams, sautés, boils, fries, and the non-stick, crazy slippery. Meet the pan that'll finally make you give up takeout. The Always Pan.
Hey there, welcome to Scripps News Live. Good to see you on this Wednesday. I'm Veronica Cruz. Time now to get caught up on the day's top stories. So the mayor of Nagasaki, Japan, marked 78 years since an atomic bomb fell on his city by asking world powers to ban nuclear weapons. 70,000 people died when the U.S. dropped a nuclear bomb on Nagasaki on August 9th, 1945. It came 3 days after another nuclear bomb killed 140,000 people in Hiroshima. Japan surrendered less than a week after the second attack, ending World War II. Panic now spreading as wildfires continue to rage across Hawaii's Maui Island. Authorities have been telling people to avoid the popular Lahaina area. All of the evacuees have created traffic jams. Some people even jumping into the ocean in order to escape the blaze. The Coast Guard had to rescue about a dozen of them. Experts say a hurricane that passed 500 miles south of Hawaii was helping to fuel the fires. Haitian kidnappers released a U.S. nurse and her daughter after 2 weeks of captivity. It is unclear what led to the release or whether any ransom was paid. Witnesses said men with weapons took the pair from a clinic in the section of the Haitian capital controlled by gangs. The organization she works with asked that the family be given privacy so their healing can begin. New York City has long been considered a sanctuary city for migrants seeking asylum. But not anymore. And that's because last month, New York's housing shortage and overcrowding situation has forced the city to no longer be able to guarantee housing for incoming migrants. But they keep coming, and the situation is only growing worse. National correspondent Axel Terstius live for us in New York on Randall's Island. Axel, what more can you tell us about the mayor saying that the city will again build tents where they're supposed to be housing migrants?
Well, Veronica, the mayor saying today the city could soon spend more than $12 billion on this migrant crisis, and these are estimates. The mayor provided today estimates over the course of the next 3 fiscal years. He's saying that the city is facing an unprecedented state of emergency, saying, quote, the immigration system in this country is broken, and the system has been broken for years. So far, the city has spent over $5.5 billion during this fiscal year, and that's up from the $1.4 billion the city spent last fiscal year. So the city will soon be opening a tent. We'll be building a tent to house hundreds of migrants here on Randall's Island. But to recall, last year, the city built another tent on this very soccer field here on Randall's Island that cost them more than $16 million, but they tore that tent apart just weeks after they opened it. So since last spring, more than almost 100,000 asylum seekers have arrived in New York City, and currently the city is taking care of more than 57,000 individuals. So to put in numbers what the city is paying for the current migrant situation, so the city is paying $383 per night per household. That includes shelter, food, and medical care. That is equal to $9.8 million the city is spending per night, and $300 million per month, which comes out to $3.6 billion per year. And that's without even counting what the city is paying for legal services for these migrants. So the mayor today addressed the situation that took place last week outside the Roosevelt Hotel, saying that hundreds of migrants were sleeping outside the Roosevelt Hotel because the shelter system was full.
Our city is already facing a severe housing shortage on top of trying to find space for our new arrivals. We have repeatedly asked state lawmakers to assist in building more affordable homes, but they have been unable to pass any meaningful legislation. And the costs have grown from our earlier estimates as more people continue to arrive. This is not sustainable.
Veronica, the mayor also said the state will begin providing some funds to help the city tackle the current migrant situation. He also said the federal government is going to send a team from the Department of Homeland Security to assess the situation. But he kept on repeating that the federal government needs to step up right now and provide more funds and declare this crisis a state of emergency. Veronica.
All right, Axel Tercios live for us there in New York. Axel, thanks for the update. The U.S. Supreme Court issuing a major ruling on firearms without serial numbers, known as ghost guns. Justices voting 5-4 to overturn a Texas federal judge's ruling that invalidated the Biden administration's regulation of ghost gun kits. National correspondent Maura Sirianni explains what comes next.
The Supreme Court Tuesday siding with the Biden administration and temporarily reinstating ghost gun regulations struck down by a lower court. These types of firearms are virtually untraceable. They can be built with kits available online, don't have serial numbers, and previously had no federal restrictions or limitations on purchases. In a 5-4 vote, the High Court overturned a ruling from a federal judge in Texas that blocked regulations issued last year by the Biden administration from taking effect. The new regulations include changing the current definition of a firearm under federal law so that unfinished parts of a gun must also be licensed and include serial numbers. Manufacturers must also run background checks before a sale. Earlier on Morning Rush, Rob Pincus, executive vice president of the Second Amendment organization, argued this creates confusion.
But the new rules and interpretations really try to redefine what a firearm is.
While gun violence prevention advocates applaud the move.
And this is a serious problem. In the year 2021 alone, law enforcement recovered 19,000 ghost guns.
It comes as a growing number of cities have filed lawsuits against ghost gun manufacturers, including Philadelphia and Los Angeles.
They are completely unregulated and unserialized.
Philadelphia's mayor said there has been a 300% increase in the number of ghost guns recovered from crime investigations over the past 4 years. A maker of ghost guns sued to block the regulations, but the Supreme Court says these rules will apply as the lawsuit makes its way through the lower courts. Maura Sirianni, Scripps News, Atlanta.
We're learning more right now about what happened during the riverfront brawl on a dock in Montgomery, Alabama. Christina Owen was on the Harriet II riverboat while it was trying to dock Saturday. She recorded the fight from an angle that shows how it started. A small private boat was blocking the spot where the riverboat normally docks. The owners of the small boat dismissed warnings to move, and that's when the Harriet II's co-captain tried to move it himself. The video shows what happened next. The owners of the small boat, who are all white, attacked him. Owen described what she saw on Scripps News Tonight.
And I thought, oh, these guys are really mad that people touched their boat and moved their boat, even though they were fairly warned. And then when I saw the first punches, I just knew I had to keep recording.
3 of the men involved have been charged with at least 1 count of third-degree assault. The Montgomery police chief says one of the men surrendered and expects others to be in custody soon. Videos recorded by bystanders like this one are helping officers identify who should be charged. As that investigation plays out, the incident has racked up millions of views on social media. National correspondent Amber Strong takes a closer look.
In a way that only social media can do, what started as a weekend brawl has sparked a free-for-all of memes, reenactments, and even jokes about a chair used in a fight in Montgomery, Alabama.
Y'all give it up. Welcome to the Ricky Smiley Morning Show. Give it up for the chair. Yes.
Several in the Black community are celebrating the bystanders authorities say defended a Black Alabama riverboat employee attacked by white boaters, who witnesses say refused to move their boat.
This was probably one of the first unscheduled, I guess, viral moments that Spill has had. And so it felt very community oriented. You know, everyone was talking about the same thing at the same time.
April Rain is an expert on equity and inclusion, as well as an advisor to the rising app Spill, a social media platform created by two ex-Twitter employees focused on amplifying and uplifting Black communities online. While still in beta, Spill has more than 175,000 users, many sharing memes and reactions to the so-called riverboat brawl.
One of the reasons why this video went so viral, because things happened in the moment. There was immediate accountability for wrongful action.
I did feel a sense of inspiration in the social solidarity that was displayed from the Black community in its fullest fidelity possible, right? And when I started to see the memes, it created context, which is what memes are, right? They're vessels of cultural information.
Marcus Collins is a veteran digital strategist, professor of marketing, and author of For the Culture, a book about the influence of cultural engagement.
My favorite meme, though, is the Avengers. Like, that's my favorite meme. It was like, I mean, and it was kind of like that. My man was summoning the Avengers, you know. And I mean, like I said, like I'm not a violent person, so I'm not one to condone or celebrate violence. But I do believe that you got to defend yourself.
This isn't a celebration of violence. This is a celebration of accountability that we see not very often.
Both Collins and Rain say the humor of the memes and social media reactions help foster a sense of community from the weekend brawl, one that was already built from decades of in-jokes and culture.
Taking those memes and the language that it's sort of providing to understand, what do people not understand about the ways that we as Black people express our joy and pain, oftentimes through humor?
Yeah, I mean, that's a part of the Black American experience. You know, we express ourselves through cultural production, whether it's through song, through dance, through attire, through humor.
There's another phrase, you know, laugh to keep from crying, right? And so we have had to express our emotions through laughter because we weren't allowed to show pain.
Grammy Award-winning musician and Broadway star Stephanie Mills offered to throw a charity concert to cover the legal fees for the people who defended the Black riverboat employee. Others online have turned the fight in Montgomery as a teaching opportunity, bringing up that Black inventor Nathaniel Alexander patented the folding chair, and that the Montgomery dock where the fight took place was a major hub for the slave trade.
Those are all things that I learned on Spill, in addition to the memes and the jokes, and you know, and so I think that's a really nice balance. It's more than just a humorous moment. It's also a teachable moment.
Amber Strong, Scripps News.
Still to come on Scripps News Live, NASA revealing new details about its mission to the moon. Plus,
I'm John Matarese. Most of us hate shrinkflation, where you pay more and get less for your money. But it turns out sometimes when a product gives you less, it's not a bad thing. I'll explain coming up.
and a reminder right here, you can find our stories and much more online. Feel free to check us out at scripsnews.com, X, which is formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, and Threads.
Once upon a time, why drag?
I think they have every right to do what they want to do.
But they don't have every right.
We don't want your straight child to turn gay. We want your gay child to survive.
I was having problems with my legs and my feet.
I suffered a lot of cramps, swelling.
I would dread going up and down steps.
Tingling in my legs due to circulation issues.
The aches and pains have just continued to increase.
Did you know if you have high blood pressure, high cholesterol, diabetes, or are over 40, your leg aches and pains could be from poor circulation? Revitive can help reduce leg aches and pains, swelling, and cramps. Revitive uses breakthrough technology to get your calf muscles pumping like a second heart to increase blood flow, reducing leg aches and pains, cramps, or swollen feet and ankles.
Plus, it's drug-free.
The cramping was terrible, and I don't get that anymore. Thank you, Revitive.
Revitive is FDA cleared and clinically proven to increase oxygen-rich blood flow during use. The smart stimulation works so well, over 3 million people use Revitive.
As a firefighter, I'm constantly on my feet. I wish I had known about Revitive a lot earlier. It would have made a huge difference in really who I am today.
Revitive has given me a better quality of life because I am living without pain.
Revitive reduces leg pains 2 times more than exercise alone in just 6 weeks.
We want to take walks. We want to do more social activities, just the typical things in life that I did not feel well enough before Revitive that I was able to do.
Yeah, Revitive is regenerizing my legs and making me feel like, let's do more.
Go to Revitive.com now to learn how Revitive can help reduce leg aches and pains, swelling, and cramps.
The doctor said go for it, and I'm in the best shape in terms of my legs and my ankles and my feet than I've ever been.
Try Revitive. You will see the difference. It works. It worked for me.
Get the most out of life with Revitive. Visit Revitive.com. That's REVITIVE.com. Or call
1-800-317-6641. That's 1-800-317-6641 today. Or visit Revitive.com. Order now.
Meet Pair Eyewear, the only glasses brand that lets you change your glasses like you change your clothes. Simply snap on a top frame and you're ready to go. Now you can customize a look for every outfit, every occasion, and every day. With hundreds of designs to choose from, Pair makes it easy to match your style and build a collection you'll love. You can even snap on a sun top to instantly turn your pair into sunglasses. Start building your collection today at paireyewear.com.
Do you have an idea for a story you would like to see or a comment on our coverage you want to share? We want to hear from you. Call our Scripps News viewer hotline at 833-4SCRIPPS. That's 833-4SCRIPPS.
Economic uncertainty driving shoppers to pay closer attention to what they're buying right now. They're noticing more companies are downsizing their products without ever changing their prices. One shopper bought a box of Tide that was not only smaller, but claimed to offer the most bang for her buck. Consumer reporter John Matarese determines if this was a possible case of shrinkflation.
We've heard more and more cases of shrinkflation at the grocery store in recent years, where you pay more but get less. But after one viewer contacted us about a possible case of shrinkflation, we found that sometimes getting less is not a bad thing.
Jerry Bluss says half the things in her fridge have shrunk in recent years.
That's gotten smaller.
Now, while doing a load of laundry recently, she thought she found another case of suspected shrinkflation.
I started a new box and I thought, whoa, wait a minute.
Jerry's new box of Tide was 22 ounces smaller, 232 ounces versus 254 ounces.
The old box was giving me 180 loads. The new box is supposed to give me 183 loads.
She was stumped.
How is P&G doing that? Because how can I get more loads out of a box that weighs less?
So we contacted P&G, the maker of Tide, which claims it's not shrinkflation at all. The company tells us Tide recently improved and concentrated the powder formula. That means there's more cleaning ingredients per ounce. That's why you get virtually the same amount of loads in a smaller size and the same clean you've come to trust with Tide. We turn to shrinkflation guru Edgar Dworsky of Consumer World. He says cases like these are rare and that this type of information should be on packages loud and clear.
So people understand that you can now use less because it's now a stronger formula.
As to where things stand on shrinkflation,
it seems to have tapered off just a drop. But as we keep seeing these announcements from major companies that they're raising prices, that's really a euphemism for giving you less.
Jerry says it's nice to see when one shrinking product is actually a good thing, and that way you don't waste your money. I'm John Matarese.
So despite inflation, travel is still up. It's obviously a priority for millions of Americans. Government data shows international travel is almost to pre-pandemic levels. 6 million Americans had bon voyage in May, and 7.5 million people took to the skies in June. A recent survey shows more people could catch that travel bug next year. 47% of respondents said that travel is a priority for both 2023 and 2024, which is a 5% increase from last year. Coming up next on Scripps News Live, why the sun is shining extra bright for one lucky lottery player in Florida. We'll be right back.
The promise of America is freedom, equality. But right now, those pillars of our democracy are fragile, and our rights are under attack. Reproductive rights, voting rights, the right to make your own choices and have your voice heard. We must act now to restore and protect these freedoms for us and for the future, and we can't do it without you. We are the American Civil Liberties Union. Will you join us? Call or go online to myaclu.org to become a Guardian of Liberty today. Your gift of just $19 a month, only 63 cents a day, will help ensure that together we can continue to fight for free speech, liberty, and justice. Your support is more urgently needed than ever.
Reproductive rights are on the line, and we are looking at going backwards. We have got to be here, and we've got to be strong to protect those rights.
So please, join the ACLU now. Call or go to myaclu.org and become an ACLU Guardian of Liberty for just $19 a month. When you use your credit card, you'll receive this special We the People t-shirt, member card, magazine, and more to show you're part of a movement to protect the rights of all people. For over 100 years, the ACLU has fought for everyone to have a voice and equal justice. And we will never stop. Because we the people means all of us. So please call or go online to myaclu.org to become a Guardian of Liberty today.
When Lila was ready to sell her ring, she sent it to Worthy, where they took care of everything and auctioned it on her terms. Then, Worthy sent Lila her money. You're worthy of more. Get started at worthy.com.
Hey, I'm inside the bank. Where's the $500? What? I don't have much time. Where's the $500?
I said drop your bank, not rob your bank.
What?
I said drop your bank and get Dave, the banking app.
Yeah, I thought this was a lot of work for $500.
You think?
I mean, I would love it if you could come get me.
Oh, no. Oh, she going to jail.
Hello?
There's an easier way you can get up to $500 in 5 minutes or less when you download Dave.
I'm Jason Bellini in Ukraine, reporting for Scripps News.
In a war half a world away,
You learn pretty fast when you just survive.
there are stories you will never forget. Stay with Scripps News.
And we would like to hear from you. Give us a call on our Scripps News Viewer Hotline toll free at 1-833-4SCRIPPS. Feel free to share your comments and your story ideas. So NASA is revealing new details about its mission to the moon. The crew of 3 Americans and 1 Canadian plan to travel around the moon in November of 2024. The Artemis 2 mission hopes to pave the way for future astronauts to land on the moon again, and then hopefully Mars. The astronauts just got a peek inside of their spacecraft, and Space Commander Reed Wiseman is sharing how the team is feeling right now.
We're fired up. It's a great day yesterday when you walk around the corner at the Neil Armstrong Operations and Checkout facility, and there's your spacecraft that you're going to ride in, the ship, as they call it over there. And we got to look inside and hang out, and it was really quite fascinating.
Artemis 2 is the first to send astronauts near the moon since the Apollo in 1972, and that flight is expected to last about 10 days. Good luck. A World War II veteran survived one of the toughest jobs at just 20 years old. And now, 80 years later, he's sharing his story with Scripps News Richmond's Greg McQuaid. Take a look.
That's a long time ago.
Like water droplets evaporating in the scorching heat.
After I finished high school in 41,
years can seemingly disappear just as fast.
That's when I was 6 years old.
William Charles doesn't know where the time has gone.
I had a bicycle and I put a many mile on that thing. Delivering newspapers.
The Hampton native who lives at the Chesapeake and Newport News is turning 100 years old.
I never thought I'd do it. I didn't think I'd have lived this long.
When you take into consideration what his first job as an adult was, Mr. Charles was lucky to reach 20 years of age.
And I heard about Pearl Harbor, so I knew what was going to happen then.
6 months after graduating high school, William was off to war.
I didn't want to be drafted, so I enlisted. I figured I would be doing myself a favor and also doing the country a favor, too.
The 18-year-old, who was always fascinated with flight, joined the Army Air Corps and began training.
So it was a great day. That was a great feeling.
A year later, the second lieutenant was flying real missions against a real enemy in the Pacific Theater.
When you get close to the target, you start seeing the enemy aircraft. And when you see that fire coming towards you.
William piloted B-26 Marauders and A-26 Invaders on dozens of white-knuckle missions barely above the ocean.
About 10 feet, 10 or 15 feet.
Some flights were just too close for comfort.
It was skip bombing, what they call skip bombing, where you go in real low and just skip the bomb into the beach. That's where we did a lot of that.
Often, William and his crew would return to base, their plane riddled with bullet holes.
But we never knew when we took off whether we'll get back or not.
They were fortunate. Many of Mr. Charles's fellow airmen never came back. Mounting casualties were crushing.
It was a bad feeling to know that some of your friends was killed in a crash.
The military would rotate William home to Virginia after completing his required 25 missions, leaving his crew members behind, hurt.
I kind of resented the fact that I could leave and leave them behind.
In August of 1945, William and the country could exhale. World War II was over.
It was great to hear that the Japanese had surrendered.
Following the war, Mr. Charles attended college, married, and had 2 children.
Never got in too much trouble.
As he approaches the century mark, Mr. Charles wonders where the years went.
I don't notice any difference. I don't notice any difference when I was 80 or 90.
This veteran is one of the nation's few World War II bomber pilots still living. William Charles counts his blessings he survived in the air.
Yeah, I did. It was a good airplane.
It gives him an opportunity to look back on his life well lived on the ground.
Well, I felt I accomplished a little bit. I was glad I was able to serve.
Mr. William Charles retired from his lumber company back in 1990. He's been living at the Chesapeake and Newport News for 6 years now. His family is planning a big 100th birthday for him on August 12th.
And that was Greg McQuaid reporting there for us. Well, America has a new Mega Millions winner, and they bought that ticket in Neptune Beach, Florida. After about 4 months of bust, one lucky player hit all 6 numbers to win a record-breaking $1.58 billion. They could choose to take home a one-time cash payment of roughly $783 million. That jackpot is now $20 million. Congratulations. I'm Veronica de la Cruz. Thank you so much for joining us today. For the audience leaving us right now, your local programming is up next. And don't forget, you can always check us out on ScrippsNews.com. Now, if you're staying with us, we have much more news headed your way right now on Scripps News Live. Don't go too far. We'll be right back.